Good morning, everyone. So it's Easter Saturday, the 8th of April, and an amazing day here in this part of France, in Les Sables. So sun shining, all that sort of stuff. And we got lots of colour on the map today, which is interesting, but not affecting any of the sailors in terms of high winds. They're all having pretty much a lot of fun. And I suppose today there is not a lot to talk about because there's no exciting tweets and this, that, and the other than what's on the tracker. So this is just saying g'day, have a good Easter, and all that sort of stuff. And now we'll get back to the map. So here we go. I got to get onto my screen. And it was interesting. I just called this up just as I turned it on. I saw in the last, he's actually come around a little bit more, which is good. Ian's doing pretty well, doing 3.6 knots, starting to run out of breeze. And he's making 51 degrees true towards Les Sables, which is kind of good. The previous 4 hours is a little bit further off to the east, being the gentleman sailor that he is. And I started to think, look at the difference in tracks, Simon's the most pronounced guy who just keeps the boat pointing at Les Sables or what the rum line is and adjusts the sails and puts up with the sea and this, that, and the other. So that's a real secret weapon. There's no one that can match him on his ability to just put up with what the boat's doing. And Ian's looking after his boat, taking it steady, and doing really well. So that's kind of cool. He's still there after all this time. And the weather, if we just push this in a little bit further, you can see it's as forecast yesterday. This thing's just sort of sitting there. This low pressure system just sitting there, not moving very fast out of the way for Ian anyway. And so now he's come up against this sort of interaction between the two, where you've got two opposing wind directions. So you've got a sort of generally a southerly, say, here, and then you've got a northerly there. Something's got to happen in between. The pressure systems ridge up and down, and there's a no man's land in the middle with no breeze. And that's what he's coming into now. That's why he's slowing down a bit. So that's going to be a feature of his day, I think. So just coming forward, still going to maintain that northerly breeze. So it's actually coming over the top of him. So that's cool, but he'll probably head down then a bit further to the east, which is not so cool, but he'll get there eventually. So, and it's going to strengthen that yellowy area. There's about 25 to 30 knots, 25 gusting 30, 35, and the sea will build up a bit. And then it's getting a little bit more intense at that stage. So this is on the 10th. At about it's 2 days ahead. He should actually make probably 280-mile days, so 160. Yeah, that's not a bad guess. That's about where he'll be. Okay, so he's going to be in this sort of area, just on the edge of that. Let's just see what's going to evolve going forward. So again, he's going to be sitting about here somewhere, if you can see that. So now I'm going to toggle that forward a bit. Again, it's coming across. So the internet's cheapest. The internet is a little bit slow. Sorry about that. It's showing 3 bars. I don't think we can wait for this. I'm going to have to reboot the system. Keep your fingers crossed. That means everyone must be on the internet right now. So we shall see. Let's come down here. That's no good. It's not actually. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to take a punt here and move everything. I'm going it says it's still running, but I'm not sure whether it is. Jane, can you see if that's still live on Facebook? Sorry about that little hiccup. We're just going to check that, and I don't have the tracker there, so there still could be running live. I'm not sure. So now we've got. Can you just check to see if it's still going? It is. Okay. So now I just got to get the tracker screen up. Share that. I don't know what was happening there. I've just had to quickly move position. We're now sharing the tracker. I've got to see if you've got that. Go solo here, get rid of me. Okay, so you've got, it should have the tracker there now. Just got to change the shape. There you are. Where did it go? Here we go. Okay, let's see if we can get this is where we lost it last time. Stand by. Yep, we got it back. Okay, so keep having your coffee if you're watching this. I'll put the grids back here. And okay, so we should be back on. I just got to check this. Yeah, looks like you're there. So that's cool. So I'll come back to the tracker. Sorry about that. I don't know how much you got of that. You might have blotted out for a while there, but it's come back, and I don't know whether it's on a whole new screen or whatever. But we'll just start again. So Ian's making 3.6 knots, 82 miles in the last day, and he's going. Looks as if he's going forward into no breeze, but he's got a bunch of wind coming up behind him, which is some sort of interaction here. There's a high pressure system here, there's a low pressure system there, and there's something going on between, which is causing the instability, obviously. And if we start pushing that through, this is getting close to where we were before. The two are molding together somehow. And so there's the 9th. So there's 1 day out. It's sort of okay, northerly, and then it's coming up behind him. Here it comes there, and it's going to blow a bit, but I don't think, because when it gets there, he's going to be forward on this edge. He's going to get a solid northwesterly. It could be forecasting 30 to 35s. If it goes over 35 forecast, we'll give him a weather alert. But he's got some sort of big northwesterly breezes coming. He's used to big winds, so that's all kind of good. That's 2 days away. And then it's coming over to a southwesterly. He'll be in the top end of the system, so we'll follow that and then decide whether I want to give him a weather alert or not. But it's looking as if it's borderline, whether we do. Not a huge storm. He'll be up here then. That's going to be, 30, 35, gusting 40, which is, again, pretty normal for the Southern Ocean, and he's still in the Southern Ocean. You tend to think when you're around the Horn, there's 40 there, so he's still in the roaring 40s, and that's exactly what he's getting. So a windy few days coming up in a couple of days for Ian. So that's cool. Jeremy, as we were suggesting yesterday, not going anywhere in a hurry, doing 1.7 knots, and he wasn't going much faster than that in the previous 4 hours. Did 58 nautical mile day, and he's got very light headwinds, and he's pretty much holding very hard onto the wind. He's got. I was always impressed with his sails. I mentioned a few times he's got good racing sails as well. Sort of tri-radial cut Genoa and all that sort of stuff, and they're pretty slick. So he does okay in that kind of weather, but it's still a slow track to Les Sables d'Olonne if you're only making 1.7 knots. But that's the weather for him. You can see there's these weak trade winds coming across, and it's just hooking down at the bottom here. That's why it's gone northerly. As he gets further up, it'll settle down, and he'll get this sort of easterly or southeasterly, and it should be okay for him. But let's see what the weather's going to do. If we toggle that forward, going light, so he's going to be parked pretty much. There's 1 day, so yeah, he's not going anywhere in a hurry today. And then looks like the next day is going to be pretty similar. So he's got his own little mini doldrums patch there by the look of it. So, yeah, that's pretty basic, but then he's got some breeze coming up behind him. So the next couple of days are very slow. And if you look at this, not much of a trade wind from there to there is nothing. That's only, 600 miles, 700 miles or something. Yeah, 600 miles. So he's only got 600 miles of trade winds, which is not what some of the others had. So not good for keeping up with the fleet, but he's no doubt enjoying the weather, and he's not likely to get any storms, touch wood. So par the course for Jeremy. Captain Gook doing pretty well today, right now at the moment. He's done 74 nautical miles in the last 24 hours, which penetrating the doldrums is pretty respectable. So he's obviously getting some storms. It looks as if, if you build that up, sorry, you've been on small scale, get the weather back to here. All pretty light, but it's okay. 4.6 knots. That's pretty cool. And it looks like he's got breeze going all the way. How long is it going to last? He'd be very happy with that. That's good sailing. Flat water, all those sorts of things. And yeah, very enjoyable. So let's see what happens. That's the trade winds just above him, the northeasterly trades. Here we go. So he's got breeze all the way through for that's through to midnight. Yeah, you'll probably hold a breeze there. There's enough there to keep it going. If this graphic is showing breeze, that means there'll be a pressure gradient there, and it's giving him breeze. So there's the first day. He's got a nice gentle northeaster, so he can hold high on that because the water will be completely flat. Although he's no doubt got squalls and thunderstorms in amongst all this, but there'll be less because when you get this pressure gradient, it tends to blow them through, and they form up late in the afternoon. You get big thunderheads and lightning and wind and this, that, and the other, but you don't necessarily get them going all through the day. It becomes more of a tropical weather sort of thing. A bit hard to describe, but the doldrums can be quite vicious if it shows no wind. You get these really intense storms or squalls, but when there's a bit of a gradient like this, it blows it away and it becomes more tropical. So it'll be afternoon action for good. Fantastic sunsets. So probably getting some good footage for his documentary. So that's day one. And then coming through to day two, getting a bit light. But he hasn't got far to go. There's the edge of the trades is just sitting there. He's only got 160 miles to go. He could be there in a day and a half. If he is, he's been very lucky and he's pushed through. So what we talk about, the elastic band, that means, you slow down when you come through here. See, this is really thin. He's doing pretty well. If he's there, he's going to hold just lose out a little bit of position, but he'll only be, maybe 1,100 miles behind Kirsten. So he might have caught up a little bit because he's been sitting at about 1,200 miles for, nearly a month or so. And anyway, he's not going to lose out on the doldrums by the look of it. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so that's Goog's situation right there. And now the leading pack. Let's see what's going on. It was kind of, what are they doing now? 5.8, 5.8, 5.4. Okay, just before this, the previous 4 hours, Kirsten was on 6, Simon was on 6, and Abelish was on 5.9. They were pretty much all cruising at exactly the same speed. In terms of 24-hour run towards Les Sables d'Olonne, Abelish 94 nautical miles, and Kirsten is 99 nautical miles. So in terms of the leadership, Kirsten's probably picked up about 5 miles on Abelish, and doing pretty well. It's not even really worth looking at the leaderboard now because it's not giving a true impression of the race course. But let's have a look anyway. Kirsten's position is she got 2,391 to go, and Abelish has got 2,492 to go. So there's 100 miles in it, but that's not the reality, okay, at all. The reality is that they've got to just play the weather. So it's not even a windward leeward situation. It's all about this weather system. And this is absolutely the formation of what we'd call the North Atlantic, or really an Azores high. They form up normally in this area here, and they slowly come up across the top of the Azores and then head in that direction, and that creates the wind. I went through it in detail yesterday, so I know a lot of you would have seen that yesterday forecast. So before we look at tactics, let's just, or what the likelihood is, let's just roll this through and see what's happening you can see it's, it will come up a bit. I don't want to repeat what I said yesterday, even though some of you wouldn't have seen that, but here's a classic demonstration. Here's the high pressure system forming up. It's very distinct now. That's driving these northeasterly trades. And the important thing to remember, northeasterly trades, they'll follow the circular motion the closer it gets to the center, but the further away you get, it fans out. Okay, and this is where Kirsten may be a little bit of disadvantage because she'll have more of a northeasterly gradient compared to an easterly gradient up here, and that'll allow Abelish to come around. And in fact, if you look at his course now, if you look at Abolish, you can see he's already starting to hook round and head north, whereas Kirsten generally, it's dead straight, okay? And so that's going to use up some of the, Abolish's course here is going to use up some of the advantage that Kirsten may have had on a windward position. It's not relevant anymore. So she's really boat for boat. And that means that you can say right now that Abolish is, if we go for the distance here, you go on a par to a sort of similar run line, you could really say that Abolish might be as much as, well, you've got to cancel out. He's 220 miles or so, 230 miles in front of Kirsten to where they want to go. But it's less distance for Kirsten to go to Les Sables d'Olonne, but Abolish is going to hook his course around, so he'll use up some of that advantage, if that all makes sense. So anyway, it's generally similar to what I was saying yesterday, and the forecast is right. For Simon in Chichester class, not in the rankings, not in the race, so to speak, he's sailing extremely well. Straight line course, he's in between the two, and it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But generally, he hasn't been making too much ground on Abolish. Abolish is doing all right at the moment, but he's squeaking up there. He sailed away from Kirsten a little bit over the last few days, and he's sailing really well. But just at the moment, the focus is on Kirsten and Abolish. And so what's going to happen with this weather? Exactly what we said yesterday. The forecast, when it's a couple of days out, is usually pretty accurate. It's the longer stuff, when you get to anything over 4 days is getting a bit much, but it's still an interesting trend. Now you can see here straight away, it's got a bit fluffy up the top, but the distances, just because to show you how far they're going to go, why they're going to be still in it. Oh, sorry, I want to show you the thing out here. Why am I not getting the second point? It's always good to get a perspective, because you look at the size of the boat and you think it's the same, but we're changing the scale. So it's 500 miles up there. So that's going to take, Abolish will be doing, his speed will probably pick up a little bit. So it's probably going to take him less than 4 days. So 4 days away, he's going to be up around 30 degrees north of the equator. That's this line here. And that's where things are going to get interesting. And so just pushing that through again. I'm going to pull this down a bit. You can see there's the Azores there. Okay, and that's why these are called the Azores High coming across, and it's pretty much doing its own thing. So this is the 10th, and that's 2 days away. So in 2 days, he's done a couple hundred miles. So Abolish is going to be sitting here. He's going to have close to an easterly breeze. Okay, and if he's got an easterly breeze, you can bet your bottom line, if he visualizes what's happening here using his barometer, because I don't know whether he's getting a weather forecast, he'll know all about the Azores High. And so if he's reading his barometer, he'll get an indication of where to target, especially when he looks at the wind direction. Remember, I said if you put your arm out in the north, you can always work out where the center of the high is. And so he'll know it's over in this side, not over this side. He's just got to face into the wind, put his arm out, and it's pointing to the center of the high. He'll know the high is going that way. So he knows he wants to chase it now. So he's got a big incentive to hold high, right, and get up in this direction and try and hold onto this wind swing. So as I said, 2 days away, he's going to be about here with an easterly. What's Kirsten got? She's still got this 2 days away. She's going to be about here, just alongside Simon's name, and she's got a northeasterly, not an easterly, whereas Abolish is getting close to a, not quite an easterly, but very much more positive for his sailing course and also speed. So that's after 2 days. Then it's going to go light for the leaders, but for Abolish. But that's only day 3, and he won't be there at that stage. Day 3 is here. He's still got absolutely got an easterly, and it's about to turn even south of east very soon. Kirsten's getting a bit more east in it, but not as much. You can see here she's got a northeasterly, same thing again. So that's here we go through. I'm going to take this to the end because it's pretty much fun what's going on. You can see the high forming up pretty distinctly now. It's going to park itself over the top of the Azores shortly. So this is on the 11th. We'll go through to the 12th. This is coming through, yeah, very nice tight center now. So you can see now even if she'll probably hook around a bit. She's up here. So if Kirsten's here, right, you can see she's still got a northeasterly, right? Whereas Abelish, if he's going to be up here, you can see what he's got. He's got an easterly. And as he climbs higher, it's going to come in behind him quicker than what it is on this side. But who knows? Kirsten's going to be coming in this direction, maybe just following up Abelish. She might bear away to go for speed and try and tail him to catch up. But it's all very interesting stuff at the moment. I'm waffling on again a bit more now because some of you might be interested, but you can see absolutely that's what you're after. And when I used to say some time ago, the first one into the westerlies is going to win the race, that's the next one. It's still got a long way up. They're not going to get there within a week to get up to the Azores, but the westerlies normally establish themselves on the other side of the Azores. And you can see that's exactly what's happening here. See, that as soon as you come up to the Azores, when you get to here, it's going to go boom, and guess what's over there? Les Sables d'Olonne. So this is the westerly flow we talk about, even though that's southwest. It's just the first one up into here, the first one that can sort of get past the Azores. And this is very traditional weather. It might be completely different in a week. By the time they get there, the whole thing can turn to mud and completely change. But right now, if someone was here and hooked onto that, they're going to get a free ride to Les Sables d'Olonne very fast. So let's just, for fun, see what happens. Oh, in fact, I'll try and estimate their, that was, where we got, that's the 13th. So it's the 8th. So it's 5 days away. So let's say they do 110 miles a day. And I think they'll be doing something like that. That's about 600 miles. So 600 miles, they're still not caught up to I'll just go the middle here. And Simon will be doing something similar. 600 miles only going to be here. So yeah, so they're still way behind it. And they might, that's interesting in its own right, because if they're not making this one, what's going to be happening after that? So imagine they're around about here somewhere, Kirsten, Simon, and Abelish. And then, sorry, I don't need that. And then that's about 5 days out. What's going to happen then? There's another day. It's going light. So that'll be interesting, remembering they're going to be sitting around here somewhere. It's swung around, so everyone's getting a better breeze. First one up here is going to get set spinnakers and be heading up, because if you're here, you got a southerly. If you're here, not far away, it's just a little bit higher. If you're here, you've got an easterly. So these guys are putting kites up. These guys are still reaching, So you can see how dramatic the change is, but it's not. They're not going to be up there, and this is going to interact. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. If this forecast is right, hopefully they're all sitting there. But imagine this: imagine if Simon's sitting here and Kirsten's sitting there, and Abelish just happens to get on here, it'll be gone again. So there's some fun coming up for sure, and it's all going to relate to the weather, and it's never over till the fat lady sings. This is something that happened to Jean-Luc in the 2018. He sat in a hole and Mark Slats was in the tray just boring down on him. He went from about 500 miles in front to about less than 200 miles. So that can happen too. Some can park. The ones like Abelish could park somewhere here. Kirsten could come ripping up behind him. So anyway, that's the luck of the draw, and it's the tactics, and it's the GGR, and it's a lot of fun. So have a good Easter. Sorry about that hiccup at the front, and I hope all of this has been recorded. I've got no idea till I check it. See you later.